This podcast is titled Evolution of Timekeeping by Jessica Cabral, Education 515, Professor Jeff McKendricks at Azusa Pacific University, Spring 1, 2011. The history of timekeeping and the invention of clocks date back to the early existence of man. Timekeeping is one of the oldest human inventions that are still used today. The story of the watch that you hold in your hand today began countless of centuries ago and is as long as the history of the human race. Little is known about the details of timekeeping in prehistoric eras, but it has been discovered that in every culture, some people were preoccupied with measuring and recording the passage of time. Ice Age hunters in Europe over 20,000 years ago scratched lines and gouged holes in sticks and bones, possibly counting the days between the phases of the moon. 5,000 years ago, Sumerians in today's Iraq had a calendar that divided the year into 30-day months. We have no written records of Stonehenge, built over 4,000 years ago in England, but its alignments show its purpose was to determine the celestial events such as lunar eclipses. When our earliest ancestors noted that the regular succession of day and night and saw how the shadows changed regularly in length and direction as the day grew on toward the night, that became known as the beginning of time measurement. At first, the way that our early ancestors began to tell time was by watching the sun as it moved across the sky. The shadows that were the shortest and the sun were directly overhead was known as the middle of the day. Even though it wasn't too accurate, our early ancestors had an idea of time and that it had a relationship with the way that the sun moved around the sky. Water clocks were among the earliest timekeepers that didn't depend on the observation of celestial bodies. These were stone vessels with sloping sides that allowed water to drip at a nearly constant rate from a small hole near the bottom. Markings on the inside surfaces measured the passage of hours as the water level reached them. These clocks were used to determine hours at night, but may have been used in daylight as well. Another version consisted of a metal bowl with a hole in the bottom. When placed in a container of water, the bowl would fill and sink in at a certain time. In the first half of the 14th century, large mechanical clocks began to appear in the towers of several large Italian cities. Another advance was the invention of spring-powered clocks between 1500 and 1510 by Peter Henlein. Although they ran slower as the mainspring unwound, they were popular among wealthy individuals due to their small size and the fact that they could be put on a shelf or a table instead of hanging on the wall or being housed in tall cases. Since 1970, the quartz crystal clock has been the most popular clock used in timekeeping technology. The development of electronics in the 20th century led to clocks with no clockwork parts at all. Time in these cases is measured in several ways, such as by the vibration of a tuning fork, the behavior of quartz crystals, or the quantum vibrations of atoms. Even mechanical clocks have since come to be largely powered by batteries, removing the need for winding. Today we have digital clocks everywhere. Cell phones, radios, televisions. The evolution of clocks and timekeeping is a very vast and interesting history, and it's technology that will be used as long as mankind exists. Now, you don't have an excuse to be late to your next class. Thank you for listening to this podcast on the evolution of timekeeping.